everyone. Welcome to another lecture in the series of lectures on Plath. Today we're going to be not reading a new diary entry, but just having a bit of a discussion about what we've already read, um, certain recurring themes, certain things that I may have already discussed. Um, with any course, of course, again, the problem is that there's a lot of burden of responsibility on my shoulders. But especially when it comes to a course on a person, like say Plath, the thing is that despite that we're reading in the unabridged journals, having discussions, all of that stuff, it's really important for you guys to be able to, if not understand, fall in love with her to a point where, you try to constantly understand her. You try to make sense of things that she may have done or said, things that she's written. Only that way, even the work will make more sense to you. So, as yet, we did read that she enjoys picnics and stuff like that. She's already made a decision or already has the understanding that she can never be happy in life. She can only be content. And I do think that I did say that you can already see the end. This is the first diary entry that's been published in her unabridged journals, right? Where she's clearly stated, I may never be happy, but tonight I'm content. For someone who can never be happy, who knows that they can be content but never be happy, it's very clear that that then the entire life that they're spending or get to spend will always be to try and feel content. That's about it. Because they're very clear on the idea of, say, the fact that happiness is not something that's possible for them. In real world situation, of course, if there was somebody who would say something like that today to us, would probably be like, no, but like, make yourself busy, you're being ungrateful, count your blessings, look at your privilege. But then when you track back to people like these, you realize the reality that the thing is that yes, when people go into depression, when they do deal with toxic situations, relationship, all of that, it fills them with a certain amount of darkness that they end up projecting on the surroundings around them also sometimes. And then at times with people like Plath, they've been able to curb the thing of projecting that darkness around. But despite that, it doesn't solve for a lot of things, right? If you talk about Plath's relationships in college days, which we will get to read, I think the next diary entry that we'll read in another lecture is only about this one crush that she met. And she was like, because Plath was somebody who would wear her heart on the sleeve. Hughes was smart enough to get her that way, but otherwise she was always wearing her heart on the sleeve only. He was smart enough to have gotten her off her feet, and then despite that she wore her heart on the sleeve, she was a very committed person. She was a very loyal person, which is why obviously, while a lot of people might also say that if the marriage was toxic, she could have stepped out of it, but the marriage was not the only reason why she was depressed. But it may have become one of the catalysts to her taking her life away. Obviously, no partner ever has the burden of responsibility on their shoulders to be a jester for their partner. But at the same time, there was still there's still a responsibility to be loyal to that person. There's still a responsibility to understand basic things, right? You're married to someone. You can't be bringing home another woman, basic things um, that were not taken care of in that relationship. Um, and of course, I think witnessing the World War would have had a really dramatically traumatizing effect on her as a child, let alone, of course, then having to tend to a dad who lost a leg in the war, um, losing the dad eventually, um, all the flings that she had, um, everything may have collected. Uh, ECT, electroconvolution therapy, um, on which, of course, there's a lot that's there. Hughes wrote The Tender Place um, about electroconvolution therapy. And obviously, when somebody goes through an accident or something, that's just like a 2 minute, 1 minute thing, right? We've all had probably incidents in our childhood when, say, somebody was walking on a fence, they ended up falling down, the fence pricked right inside, say, trigger warning, but probably their underarm tore inside, something like that, or something like, got into a car accident, or somebody, was riding a bicycle, fell badly. And so that kind of, what should I say, the memory of those things, it stays, right? Sometimes, when you're doing something, you will remember that. Here, that woman has been shocked. So obviously that memory is not going away. And on top of that, then everything that happens. And then Jung, I'm talking about this theory because, eventually if you're looking at her work and trying to analyze it from a psychological perspective, or ontologically connecting it to other pieces of work, you need to have a clear sense of the fact that bottled up emotions. Now, Jung has this theory where, when you bottle up emotions, say for example, this fizzy drink in a bottle that I have, say a bottle of champagne, I keep shaking it. At one point of time, the pressure inside is going to be so much that the bottle is going to end up bursting. That's sort of what happened with Plath. The bottle bursted in the end. Also, perhaps, look at this course and even the diary entries that we've read as a means to be softer to those around you, because you don't know who's suffering with what. These days, when you're scrolling through Instagram and stuff like that, you come across reels with, say, people always pretend being okay, all of that stuff. And it's today. Plath's diary entry is back in 1950. At that time, I'm sure there must have been some kind of conversation about mental health. We're living in what today? 2026. I think 76 years later, we're still there. What has changed? This book's called A Major Literary Event. But if you actually look at it, in trying to create this major literary event, there has been so much disrespect to the legend, right? To the woman that she was. It may have been a major literary event if, say, the journals that were destroyed were ever caught. They were never caught. They were destroyed. But what was published were, say, her sexual desires, which is something really personal. So of course there's signs, there are patterns, everything's in there. And this lecture is not about just talking about conspiracy theories or anything, but I want to do this in between to just say that look for things that make you realize, yeah, this is happening in the real world, or this is happening in the real world, or this is happening in the real world. Because only then will you be able to make better sense of what we're studying in these journals. I think that's about it for today. If you like the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up as well as subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to stay updated for whenever a new video drops in. Yeah, see you guys soon. And in the next lecture, of course, we're reading through her diary entries again.